So I'm going to have like 30 minutes here to try to deliver, maybe this will be a two-part message, I'm not sure. But I want to talk to you about, continue to talk to us about dying to self, that he would increase and we would decrease. One of the things that has come to me over a period of time in my life is that I had to come to a place where I had to recognize that it was okay to be real as to my needs and as my shortcomings. And I had to come to a place where I could trust another man, which in my past was ridiculously hard because of my past, to be able to speak to me to the point where it felt like he was trying to help me and not hurt me. Because in my mind, I'm so full of self and damaged stuff and stuff. No matter if someone says, even attempt to show me a better way, I didn't want to accept it because I could do it better. And I didn't want you to know that I was weak. And really what I was the most weak at was listening. Listening. I think all of us struggle at times with using our ears the way God intended. It's fascinating to me. We're going to talk about dying so that we can listen to love, or love to listen. Our ears, it's fascinating. The more I think about this stuff, I probably shouldn't think too much about stuff, but the more I think about it is they're always open, maybe for a reason. It's like our mouth, we got to... I got to open it to make it work. But our ears are always open. Maybe God intended that way. In Psalm 94, he said that he's formed the eye, but he's planted our ears. Now, what's interesting to me, there's might be a couple more body parts that are weird looking, but the ears are really weird looking. How many of you as a kid like me had people make fun of your ears? Right? Only a couple? Man, I had all kind of names for my ears because one's different than the other. But God put them there open to hear. 7 times Jesus says in his instructions, he who has ears to hear, let them hear. 3 times. 7 times, 3 times. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Hear. Listen. Faith comes by hearing. It's been proven that you, when you see things, let's say you're deaf. Let's say you're deaf because you can't hear, right? But you are hearing what the person is saying through sign language. So they're not exempt from this issue. Your learning comes by hearing, not seeing. When you go, oh, that person was really humble the way they did that. You would never know just by seeing that they were humble. You would never know what humble is unless someone taught you. You hear the Word of God, and it changes the way you think. It's so crazy. How many of you remember the hammer, the anvil, and the drum? Only 2 of you went to grade school. Science. The hammer is a little tiny piece of bone tissue in your ear that goes like this when it hears a voice, and then it hits an anvil-looking thing that goes and takes that sound and hits a drum. And then that drum starts to go off, and then after that, science is like, I don't know what goes on in the ear, but it's full of fluid, and it says it's got more sounds that go off inside your ear than the billions of sounds in the universe in one music note. And get this is how fascinating the ear is that before you hear it, your brain does. What has this got to do with the gospel? All right? We're going to shift. Listen to this. How do we die so that we can listen? Let's just read through these verses that we've been hinting at a little bit about taking this dead branch off and so that we can abide in Christ and a new fruit might come on, right? Well, there's a lot of new fruit coming out of our brother Scott. And it's everywhere, and it's called love. The greatest gift. Because deadness is died off and cut off by the hands of the best vine dresser on the planet, the Holy Spirit. But unless Scott heard the Word of God, he would have never been able to even attempt to apply it. Okay? I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. John 15:1. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away, and every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear even more fruit. So this Jesus of ours is certainly up to things in our life with an attempt for us to bear fruit. Even branches that bear, he prunes so it could bear more. And then we see that he's speaking to Christians. He says, already you are clean because of the word that I have spoken to you. You're clean because the word I spoke to you. Abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine. Neither can you unless you abide in the vine. Listen, he's going to say abide, 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 abide. Abide is where you dwell. If you look at a tree and you see the branch hanging off a tree, let's go to the first major branch on the tree, and you look at that tree, that branch is abiding in the trunk. It's just hanging there. There's no effort, right? It's just hanging there. And if it hangs there long enough, it starts to produce foliage and leaves and maybe nuts and seeds or fruit, just because it is abiding. The work is from the Holy Spirit and us abiding, living. Whoever abides in me and I in you, in him, it is he that bears much fruit. For apart from me you can do nothing. This is a part of something that my ears, although they were open, never wanted to hear. Apart from me you could do nothing. How about this one? We need one another. How about this one? Love one another. Our ears don't want to hear it. Or we hear it, but it doesn't transact. Well, maybe it's not transacting because we're not abiding. If anyone does not abide in me, he is thrown away like a branch and withers, and the branches are gathered, they're thrown into a fire and burned. This is serious. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. Oh my gosh, Lord, I'm asking for this, that we would learn to listen. That we would learn to listen. The I has to die in order for me to listen to you. The I has to die in order for me to listen to the Father. Jesus said he never did anything that he didn't hear what he was told from the Father. My Father is glorified that you bear much fruit, and so prove to be my disciples. My Father will be glorified as you follow me and become my disciples. Now listen, you guys, disciples have to move self out of the way in order to listen to the teacher. And he has to, or she has to, want instruction. Self-righteous people don't want instruction. Self-righteous people are already right according to themselves. Self-righteous people turn their ears off and wear a helmet of pride like a steel plate. I tried to tell you, I tried to warn you, but you didn't listen. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. He doesn't even love unless he receives love from the Father. We love because he first loves us. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love. Oh my gosh. You guys, this Christianity stuff is no joke. It's not pancake syrup. It's kneeling and bowing and abiding and desiring to be a disciple and not wanting what the flesh wants. Not desiring what the flesh wants. Like to be heard. I just want to be heard. I just want you to understand something. I just want you to know something. And then the tape goes off. What you really hear is what they've done and how they've done it and how you do it better than they do it. You're not listening to nobody but self. And self has got you so full of yourself that you can't hear. Except the tape that goes off. I'm glad I don't do it that way. You know, if that person, he just doesn't know like I know. I don't understand how that person can do that. I mean, certainly that's the easiest thing in the world for me to do. Why can't he do it? Why can't she do it? And you start to turn yourself off. And you don't hear because you're not listening. And then when you talk to the person, you don't want them, you don't want to understand them. You want them to understand how you did it. You don't want to listen. Maybe, as Pastor Craig says, that we got to slow down, abide in the vine, and allow that sap of Jesus to start coming up out of us to where we can crawl into the other person's heart and want to know them. Scott, what happened to you when you were 17? Oh, I hate my brother. Oh, yeah, I used to hate my brother too, but I did this, and I did this, and I did this, and I did this, and I did this. Oh, it's the easiest thing in the world. You just got to forgive somebody. You got to listen. You got to watch them cry and anguish and the pain come out. You got to know someone before the gift of mercy starts to develop. And then your ears start to come open. And then you start to abide in the vine instead of yourself. And you listen. And you listen. And you listen some more. And you look at them. I don't know how you must feel. And you take self out of the way, even if it's resonating. Oh my God, I've been through that. I understand that. You don't just let it get pruned. That's your fruit. And you listen. You want to go to home group? Listen. We were at a restaurant yesterday. My poor wife and her friend, they didn't know what the message was. And I'm sitting there going, oh my goodness gracious. I said, you both are talking at the same time. How do you hear each other? And they do. Women can do it. And then her husband, he was no help because he's a cop. And he's got something going on in his ear all the time. He goes, yeah, I've just learned to listen to that and listen to you. I go, man, I certainly need to learn to listen. Okay, so you listen. But are you hearing? Are you hearing? Is it gone from your brain down into your soul? Listen to love. And we love to listen. We got to die. It's hard. Listen, this is not easy. That's why we have to abide in Him. Apart from Him, we can't do it. But listen. These things I have spoken to you, that my joy might be in you. This is what he did. It's what he did. He listened to the Father. He applied the instruction. He kept going back to the garden to listen to the Father, apply the instruction, and his joy was full, even when he set to go to the cross, because he knew the fruit that would come out of it. His joy was complete. His joy was full. And I'll tell you what, as we men sat in there and didn't open our mouth and listened and watched and heard and seen what the Holy Spirit was doing through those two men, all of our joy was complete. Where our meeting's supposed to stop at 7, no one left till almost 9 o'clock. Joy. This is my commandment, that you love one another just as I've loved you. Man. I'm going to read this because I don't want to mess it up. This is a story about Chuck Swindoll, pastor. I'm going to preface this story before I read his story. I read a devotional, and the devotional was there were quotes from people across the world, and the only one I remember in the whole entire book was written by a Catholic priest, and he said this: busy people don't love well. I'm in the lobby and I got Pastor ADD. I don't love well in the lobby. I can love well over a cup of coffee. I don't love well during the Super Bowl. Golly, how'd they do that? But when I have an opportunity to listen, and I take that opportunity to listen, then I have an opportunity to love well. Listen to this story. Charles Swindoll found himself with too many commitments in too few days. He got nervous and tense about it. I was snapping at my wife and our children. I was choking down my food at meal times. I was feeling irritated at those unexpected interruptions through the day. Just interruptions. Before long, things around our home started reflecting the pattern of my hurry-up style. Interesting. You start getting in the blender, you bring other people with you. It was becoming unbearable. I remember after supper one evening the words of our younger daughter, Colleen. She wanted me to tell me something important that had happened to her at school that day. She began hurriedly, Daddy, I want to just tell you something. I can tell you really fast. Suddenly realizing her frustration, I said, honey, you can tell me, and you don't have to tell me really fast. Just say it slowly. I'll never forget her answer. Then she said, Daddy, listen slowly. Another one, guy went to dinner with his family. He was in his 80s, and all the grandkids and great-grandkids, everybody's running around, and they were just having a good time, and he would walk over and he'd say, I'd like to say something. Nobody listened. He decided to go for a walk, and he sat by an old man at the park, and everybody barely noticed he was gone, but then they started noticing, golly, he was gone for 2 hours. Where'd Pops go? He comes back 2 hours later, and they said, where you been, Pops? He goes, well, I met this man on the bench, and he didn't want to stop listening. Do you know that love is transacted as we listen to somebody? As we want to know them? Really want to know them? You know, your story stops playing if you let it, so that you can hear someone else's story. And maybe if you got to know the person that you really don't want to be with, that your tape would stop playing, and you would be able to, as Pastor Craig says, crawl up in their heart just for a minute. Oh, wow. Talked to a guy about his physical abuse, his sexual abuse. He said he hated that guy, hated that guy, hated that guy, hated that guy, hated that guy. And then that guy was in the church. And he heard the message. This is the Bride Church back in the day. He comes to me, what do I do? I said, I don't know, what do you think? I never tell anybody what to do. What do you think? He said, I think I need to talk to him. So he talks to the guy. And the guy tells him, I'm sorry. Do you remember so-and-so? Yeah, I remember him. He did it to me. So they went and met that guy. They said, you know, so-and-so, he did it to me. And they met that guy until they finally got back to where the guy was dead. And they forgave each other and they loved each other. Because they listened. Someone listened. James, half-brother of John, says something very interesting in James 1:19. He says, it's a powerful statement. He says, know this, my beloved brothers. Let every person be quick to hear and slow to speak and slow to anger. Be quick to hear. Run with your ears to hear and be slow to speak. How many of you know what I'm talking about? You're so busy coming up with what you want to say, you don't even hear what the other person is saying. How could you possibly understand? St. Francis of Assisi, I love that prayer. Read it. It'll be in the home group notes. St. Francis of Assisi's prayer, Lord, let me be an instrument of peace. Let me to forgive more than to be forgiven. Let me to have mercy more than want to receive it. And then this, help me to understand more than to be understood. You ever met a person like that? I have. I didn't want them to go. My burdens were halved. My joys were shared. They listened. She just listened. My grandmother was really good at it. My wife last night was really good at it. Had a hard night. She was really good at it. Brent Thompson was really good at it. Dang it, I told him, I want to be like you. Busy people don't love well. People with ears that don't open don't love well. You don't have to be busy not to hear. But you have to die so love can live. That's what Jesus did. This is why it relates to the gospel. The longest transaction in the Bible was at the woman at the well. It goes on and on and on. And you listen, you watch, you read it. Jesus listens. Jesus gets to know her. And then Jesus gave her mercy after he knew her. Stop playing the tape of your self-righteous thought about other people. Get to know them. We were here at rest. If we could stop, really. And listen. Maybe take someone home that doesn't have a home just for a meal and listen. You'd probably want to wake up the next morning like my wife does and go get him again. Go get him again. Go get him again. And then Terry says, you got to meet this girl. You got to meet this girl. You'll love this girl. I just wish my wife would share some of that with me. So, she can't. I have to remain in the vine. My fruit will look a little different, but it will be fruit if I remain in the vine. But if you remain in yourself, you will remain self-righteous. You will remain full of self. And you won't care what anyone else has to say unless they're talking about you. I would watch a movie or a little video. I have this saying around the house. This is a no-talk video. You remember when you went and you watched your home movies and everybody's like, wait a minute, I just want to watch it. How come you want to tell me all that? I just want to see it. A couple more scriptures and we'll close. Tons of scripture in Proverbs about instruction and listening. I read an article this week. I should post it on Facebook. Everybody could read it or something. But you got to read it. It's kind of long. But it's titled, "To Beg to Be Rebuked." That's flipping the script, huh? That you would beg someone to rebuke you. Not like in a weird way. Would you look and see my blind spots and help me out? Whoever heeds instruction, Proverbs 10:17. Proverbs 10, okay, back up. Proverbs 15:31. Let's go to Proverbs 15:31, the one that's up there. Proverbs 15:31. The ear that listens to life-giving reproof will dwell well among the wise. The ear that listens to life-giving instruction or reproof or recalibration or teaching will dwell well among the wise. Whoever ignores instruction despises himself, but he who listens to reproof gains intelligence. The fear of the Lord is instruction and wisdom, and humility comes before honor. Those people that listen, Brent, I hope it doesn't go to your head, brother, because don't ever stop being a listener, because I see humility in a listener. I see great things out of people that encourage. They got a word for you or they encourage you. Don't stop doing that. But please also listen so that you maybe hear what God really wants to tell them. Listen. Beg to be instructed. Beg to be a disciple, follower of Christ. Proverbs 10:17. Whoever heeds instruction is on the path to life, but he who rejects reproof, this is not good. The scripture says, he who rejects instruction leads others astray. The dad at home that's not abiding in the Lord's will is leading his whole family astray. The boyfriend who has the girlfriend that's not following the Lord's instruction is leading his girlfriend astray. The woman at work that hears from the Lord about doing this or doing that, but goes and gossips about another woman, is leading two people astray, the one she's gossiping about and the one she's gossiping to. Heed instruction. Take the warning. Beg to be rebuked. Beg to be taught. Beg to want to change. But you got to listen. You got to have your ears open and your mouth shut. Now, it's a little uneasy in here. And when you do, you got big old bushels of grapes and figs and nectarines and watermelons hanging all over your branches. And other people come and they want to find shade under you. They want to be with you. And you want to be with them. And Jesus' joy is made complete, he says, and the Father is glorified. And guess what? I got great joy. I got great joy when I surrender. I got great joy when I abide. I got great joy when someone comes and listens. You ever heard someone that says this a lot? I've been trying to figure this out. We meet people sometimes, and I say it to my wife also, and I want to hear St. Francis of Assisi's word come in when I say, you don't understand. You don't understand. It's frustrating. You don't understand. You're not listening. Maybe I ought to pull the compact out of my purse and put it up in front of me. Maybe if I would listen and understand them, they might want to reciprocate. Joy. What joy it is to know my brother Scott in a different way. Instead of what he wears, the Harley thing on the outside. He told me one day after church, he goes, Bob Ouzts, you don't remember me? I was the kid from East Nicholas that went to Wheeling High School for 12 weeks. I had red shorts on because we couldn't afford to buy blue ones. And I was from East Nicholas, and I was only there for 12 weeks. And I knew your friend Tracy Dolber when you said he went off the motorcycle and his handlebars lifted out the... That was you? Never saw him, never listened to him. You know he existed. I love you, brother. Will you do me a favor? If I'm talking to you and you want me to listen, I'm giving you permission. Hey, Bob, chillax. Chillax, just set a spell. Listen a while.